I'm sorry. It's time for Ronna to go. I'm talking about the head of the GOP, the head of the RNC. This is the woman who I think needs to show some accountability and some responsibility for the losses that we saw. So, if you haven't been paying attention, there were some pretty significant losses in places like Ohio, Virginia, and Kentucky. Kentucky, where, gosh darn it, Biden lost by 25 points in the presidential election. I mean, there was no hope for a Democrat in Kentucky until now. How'd they lose the governor race there? I mean, amazing, right? And amazingly bad. And people want to blame Trump, but Trump wasn't actually on the ticket. So that's when I just got to say, look, let's look at what's happened since Ronna's come into action. And that would be 8 governor races that she lost. That would be 3 Senate seats that she's lost, 19 House seats that she's lost, a presidential race that she's lost. And then we get Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia. I mean, Virginia, which had actually gone red, right? They elected a Republican governor 2 years ago. And the thinking, and it was because why? Oh, all this social stuff and the way that they're controlling the schools and the educational system. Parents, they just wanted to have a say in their kids' education. And the schools were like, yeah, no. And parents were like, yes, yes, yes. And so that is why you have a Republican governor now in Virginia. And that was quite telling. And yet there was no funding for the Virginia legislature, which went to the RNC and said, look, we need help. We're going to lose these races. There was no game plan. I mean, I, from a strategy standpoint, what's she thinking? I know what she's thinking. There's this sort of love-hate relationship with Donald Trump and MAGA and all this stuff, right? So you're either on the team or you're not on the team, but it's very hard to be walking this middle ground. And so she's trying to walk this middle ground because she's going to get all the money from all the big donors. And guess what? The big donors, they don't like him. Surprise, surprise. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, right? I mean, the big donors are saying, we want somebody that we can control. And this is why the Ron DeSantis's of the world look quite appealing, because he's bought and paid for, right? I'm sorry, but Nikki Haley too. I mean, I like Nikki, don't get me wrong, I'd take her, but she's bought and paid for. All of these people that devote their careers to politics, like I said, why would you do this? Really? What a dumb profession to be in, unless there's something that's really, I mean, maybe you really are that altruistic and you just want to give your life to this cause. I mean, maybe in the old days. Maybe you're just a total egomaniac. I mean, I think Trump was, and is, right? He that makes sense to me, but he already had a business. And he wasn't the kind of guy that was going to go around and look out for handouts for everybody and beg and plead for money. So he funded it himself. But the rest of them bought and paid for on both sides. I mean, Gavin Newsom, same thing. Look at what we're dealing with. How I started the show on Comer's subpoenas, because it looks like the Bidens are bought and paid for. So a lot of these people have sort of, kind of sort of sketchy backgrounds, and it makes it less likely for them to maybe just have the conviction of themselves, the authenticity of themselves. And so that's what Donald Trump brought to the table in a very refreshing way. I think RFK does the same thing, right? That's why people are responding to RFK. And by the way, I cannot stand Bernie Sanders, and I'm disgusted by his comments on Israel. And I'm just disgusted in general with his Marxist communism and, his 2 houses or 3 houses, whatever the heck he's got there in Vermont. But I would say that people respond to that authenticity, because you get this feeling with Bernie that he's just willing to let it all go to hell, right? Because he actually believes passionately in whatever his causes are. And I think that is what is missing right now. And so you get that in Donald Trump. It scares the donor class. And as a result, Ronna McDaniel, she isn't able to navigate this very treacherous territory. They need somebody in there who can actually really think strategy and say, okay, look, I'm pro-life, but is this going to lose every single election for us? You look at what happened in Ohio. Do we need to be more thoughtful? We don't want to lose every single election going forward. And so you think about Trump's position on it, which actually has been far more, how do I say, far more down the middle than, say, the likes of a Ron DeSantis when it comes to that issue. And that's probably more electable even than Ron DeSantis. But Ron DeSantis is trying to play to, well, one, the donor class, and then two, the MAGA class, which, by the way, doesn't like him. So he should probably just give that one up. Really. I mean, if you're going to run to the right of Trump, good luck. Good luck. But so now Ronna is going to go on stage tonight. You see, there's this big Republican debate that nobody cares about. Other than, maybe we get to see Vivek entertain us a little bit more on stage, Vivek Ramaswamy, who also is using his own money. So he's interesting. He's young. He's smart. He's young, right? And I say that in a way that I just think that he's probably got a great future, but he needs to develop some of the je ne sais quoi that you start to develop, right? If you've been out there for a while. And he'll get there, I think. But he needs a little, he's still a little rough around the edges. So it's a sort of television event more than anything else. Are they competing for VP? Some people have said, in fact, I think on MSNBC today, they were like, Nikki Haley's not going after Trump as hard as she should. And, why is it that Christie's the only one? I don't know, maybe because a big donor is giving Christie some kind of money to just be the attack dog. They're like, okay, this is you, this is you, this is you. So Vivek is interesting. I'm laughing because one of you, Pamela, is saying, wait a second, there's a debate tonight? I had no idea. Okay, my point, exactly, right? Why does Ronna McDaniel have a job? Like, how on earth can she be responsible for the Republican Party when she can't even get Trump to the debate? Not that he should, but she's not going to get him to the debate. She's got all these other people running against him, even though he is sort of the quote unquote anointed one. She's got the big money donors that she can't seem to manage in conjunction with the MAGA crowd. And so the party's starting to splinter and she's not winning. She's not winning. Like at some point, if I'm the CEO of a company, I got to make decisions, right? But it's even more than that. Maybe we can compare it to Disney a little bit because Nelson Peltz, he's the activist investor that's watching Bob Iger and watching Disney stock just go like this. And he's like, yeah, no. Right. So he's out there buying parts of Disney and he's like, I am going to make this succeed, Disney, in my way. And so Bob Iger's freaking out and now he's taking some steps and taking some moves. And he just actually brought in the CFO of Pepsi to try and help get that company back on course. That's what you do, right? That is what you do because you've got to actually stop the losses. So that's what happens in corporate America. At the RNC, I don't know what they're doing. They're like, oh yeah, we'll take the money. We'll go have a great party. We'll have a good time. And Ronna keeps everybody happy, except she's not winning. So I don't know. I'm just kind of simple. I like to win. And to me, this record, 8 governor races, 3 Senate seats, 19 House seats, presidential race, Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia. That tells me that Ronna Romney McDaniel is not coming up with a winning strategy. Nothing against her, by the way. She's a lovely woman. Nothing against her. It's just that we've got to get serious and we've got to get tough and we've got to know what works. We have to have our eyes on the ball. We actually have to organize. The Democrats are very good organizers. That's what the RNC has to do. You know what else the RNC has to do? It has to have enough lawyers so it can fight things where it needs to fight things appropriately so. It needs to make sure it's getting out the vote. I mean, hey, look, I know a lot of people just want to give up and say, you know what? Those Democrats, they're cheating because they're doing this, that, and the other, and they're getting all their absentee ballots going. Well, I don't buy that because it just is ridiculous. The point is they're better organized. They're actually getting the absentee ballots. If the absentee ballot system exists and you think you can go around from community to community and get people to send in their ballots because you help them to do so, well, then do it, okay? Use whatever legal means necessary to actually find a solution. This is what happens in regular corporate America. And you know, if Bob Iger doesn't figure it out over at Disney, where they're spending what, $330 on $330 million reportedly on the remake of Snow White, which they just had to like back up by a year. If he doesn't figure it out, he's going to get fired, because that's the way the real world works, right? I mean, hey, hate to break it to you.